¿De verdad quieres entender el inglés? Pues quédate en esta clase porque te vamos a contar una historia para que entrenes el oído en inglés. Con esta historia no solamente vas a entrenar el oído en inglés, sino que también vas a aprender el proceso de cómo funciona el café desde que lo cogemos de la planta hasta que lo volvemos café para tomar. Así de que abróchate el cinturón y acompáñanos en este viaje maravilloso que hicimos a Colombia. Y si te llama la atención este tipo de videos, danos un me gusta, ayúdanos a compartir y suscríbete al canal. Tarea al final.
Let me tell you the story of how we made coffee. Not the kind you buy at the store, but the kind you pick with your own hands, the kind that started just a few steps from the house. It all began with a single coffee plant. That day, we didn't walk through coffee fields or rows of trees. No, we simply stepped outside. Near the house, there was a coffee tree full of ripe fruit. The cherries were red, some purple, and some were partially ripe. We had to be careful not to pick the green ones. They weren't ready. We took our time, picking only the ripe ones, one by one.
I dropped the cherries into a coffee basket, a typical basket used for harvesting during the season. It was easy to carry and just the right size. From that one plant, I didn't get a huge harvest, but it was enough to keep going. Every little bit counted.
Cuando uno encuentra los micos debajo de los árboles. Hicieron mico. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está el mico?
Once we had picked enough, we took the fresh cherries to the machine that removed the outer skin. It separated the pulp from the beans. On one side, the shells came out. On the other, the coffee beans. It was always satisfying to watch that part. We didn't show it in the video, but after depulping, the beans were washed to remove the sticky layer. Then they were laid out to dry under the sun. The drying process could take several days, depending on the weather. When the beans were dry, some of them were sold. But the ones we used that day were meant for home use.
My mom had already depulped a batch of coffee that wasn't going to be sold. That's what we used. Coffee for the family, not for the market.
The first step was to remove the dry shell around each bean. We ground them lightly, just enough to crack the parchment shell. Then we sifted the mix to separate the husks from the beans. It wasn't a fast job.
I wasn't very fast, to be honest. But my mom, she was quick. You can see how easily she separated the husks. She made it look effortless. I tried, but I couldn't keep up.
Even after sifting, some husks remained, so we used a mesh tray to clean the beans even more. It took several rounds to get the beans cleaner. Then we sat down and sorted the beans by hand, choosing the good ones and removing the broken or discolored ones. It was time-consuming, but necessary. Once we had the clean beans, it was time to roast them.
That was my favorite part.
We roasted the beans over a fire, stirring them constantly so they wouldn't burn. The smell was incredible. As the minutes passed, the beans darkened. We roasted them until they reached the perfect color. Not too light, not too dark. After roasting, we let the beans cool and then ground them.
The aroma at that point was strong and rich, just the way we liked it.
And finally, we made coffee. We boiled the water, added the ground coffee, and let it brew. The smell filled the kitchen. After all that work, we sat down and took the first sip.
It was more than just a drink. It was comforting. It was personal. That cup of coffee carried all the time and effort we had put in. And honestly, it was the most delicious cup I had ever tasted.
So the next time you sip a cup of coffee, think of the hands that picked those cherries, the work behind each bean, and the love poured into the process. For us, it all started with a single tree just outside the house. And it ended with the best cup of coffee we could possibly share.
¿Qué te pareció ese proceso? ¿Lo conocías? ¿No lo conocías? ¿Conocías la planta? ¿Conocías los granos del café? Ese proceso como tal es larguísimo, pero de verdad que es maravilloso poder experimentarlo, poder hacerlo y poderse tomar esa tacita de café. Al final es lo mejor que hay. Y me traje un poquito acá para mi casa en Estados Unidos. ¡Míralo! ¡Qué delicia! Sin necesidad de abrir esta bolsa y huele delicioso. Me encanta. Y más si lo hace la mamita de uno, ¿sí o no? Bueno, de verdad, gracias a mi mamá, a mi hermana, a mi hijo, a mi esposo y a todo el mundo que me ayudó con este video porque de verdad que fue bastante trabajo. Acá está la tarea. Déjame saber la respuesta en los comentarios. Préstale atención.
What part of the coffee making process surprised you most?
¿Otra vez?
What part of the coffee making process surprised you most?
Listo, me voy a tomar un cafecito. Chao pues. ¡Muac!